Welcome back to the Post Show, episode 11. This week we talk about book and movie adaptations versus manga and anime adaptations. Grant is starting to catch up on To Your Eternity up to episode 6, so we chat about that. I give a quick review of Tokyo Revengers now that it seems they've wrapped up season 1. Grant gives his review on Neon Genesis now that he's wrapped that up, and then we chat about Loki episode 2. I rant for a while about Westworld and why they would feel the need to do a season 4, and then Grant gets into a new show he's been watching, Odd Taxi, and his review of the movie Raya and the Last Dragon. There's also plenty of anime news sprinkled throughout. Thank you for listening. Enjoy. Oh, hey, Grant.
Hey, Dave.
How are you?
I'm good. My Hero, part 1 in the bag.
What a weird first arc.
I'm honestly having a hard time coming to terms with how this season played out and how I feel about it. You know, like, I wonder... I think this might be the first, like, major show, like anime specifically, where it's been so good for so long. Honestly, you know, and I'm not trying to, like, pick on it, but this is the closest I felt to this, like, just kind of unsure of what I was watching is Game of Thrones.
It's weird because...
You know what I mean? Like, it's...
Anime's so different. Like, I was thinking about this because I'm rereading a Harry Potter book for, like, the 30th time in my life.
Nice.
And, you know, there's always that question of, you know, adaptations, right? You know, books versus film. And it's just like, it's so ridiculously different when you compare, like, adapting a book to a movie, right?
Yeah.
Because there's a billion reasons why they might change something, you know, or many things, or entire plots, or, you know, entire characters. Like, you know, don't go watch the Death Note movie. But, you know, like, there's a million reasons why. When you go to fucking manga and anime... Like, yeah, every now and then they, like, cut out little things. But, like, dude, a lot of the anime out there is so loyal.
Yeah.
Like, they put entire frames that are, like, basically, like, lifts. They're literally just animated.
There's a good, like, you know, it's semi-sidebar here, but, like, on Twitter, I've noticed a lot now. Like, they're just, like, they show up, like, things you might be interested in. It's, like, not lists, but, like, it'll be like subject matter, and there's one that pops up every now and then. It just says manga, and then it'll say manga versus anime, and it'll show a still from one and the other, and it's exactly what you're talking about. You see it, and, like, it's like, oh, I remember that scene from Attack on Titan, or I remember that from well, funny enough, I've been seeing a lot of, like, Neon Genesis stuff, and it's like, you know, it's like exactly what you said. It's lifted. And and I've started to notice, like, wow, maybe I should start reading some manga because that looks pretty cool.
Yeah, know? Man. There's there's that fandom website. I'm sure if you're out there and you're curious, if you Google, like, you know, My Hero Academia fandom wiki or Attack on Titan fandom wiki, they, you know, there's these big things they do for every episode. And they'll break down at the end of their post, like, you know, they post the synopsis and the plot and all that stuff. But at the end, they'll even say, they have a whole section for differences between the manga. And they'll be like, oh, you know, this chapter corresponds with this episode, and in the manga, they don't do this, and the line is actually that. But, like, the changes are so small a lot of the time.
Yeah.
That, like, you just get a bigger appreciation for how loyal a lot of this stuff is to the source material. So I don't know.
Yeah, and it's definitely, and with My Hero, I don't think it's a source material problem. I think it's just...
Well, I mean, it might be. The reason I was bringing this up was, like, you know, if this was a TV show, like, you know, live action Hollywood, or a movie, and you just had something that ground your main plot to a halt, you'd be like, well, let's rework it or repurpose it or repackage it.
Sure.
But, like, this isn't the medium to do that. You know what I mean? Like, you don't just cut 13 chapters if you don't like them. You know what I mean? Like, for all we know, they might become really important 40 or 50 chapters down the road. And, like, that's the thing, too, is, like, the stories are so friggin' long. And this is part of the reason why they are so long. Because, you know, in the scheme of things, you know, we just went by the 100th episode.
Yeah.
You know, they've had 10 or so that like feel a little off. But like if you had to, or not off, just not as action packed or
Sure.
as super
And
fun.
it's not that it's not action packed, you know what I mean? It's just it's hard. Like I can't put my finger on it specifically. I don't know what the one thing. It's not that it's bugging me. It's just I don't know. It just feels so up in the ether, you know? Like just
Yeah.
it's not I don't know. I just haven't collected my thoughts on it yet.
I think we've said it a lot in the podcast for My Hero Academia, which we're covering right now. And if you guys haven't gleaned that yet, is we'll like open the show and we'll like talk about it and then we'll go, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
What is this? What story? What plot is? What are we doing here?
Yeah.
What is this? Where are we going? What direction are we headed? What are we doing here? And it's funny when you can find yourself saying that about a show like live in the moment, not just this one, but just in general. I feel like
Yeah.
if you kind of got caught like your critic hat on and you're just like trying to appreciate where the story's going,
Yeah.
things really stick out when they don't apply or they don't seem like they might apply.
Yeah.
So anyway, that whole thing made me think of adaptations, because I was like, oh my god, like those Harry Potter movies, it's just tricky because that's one of the most successful franchises of all time, right? Especially
Sure.
before the MCU. But you know, if I sat you down and you're a nerdy guy and you like sci-fi, but let's say you didn't read any of the books. I don't know if you did or not, but
Oh yeah, big time.
well, let's say you didn't, and I showed you the movies. You know, like I don't know if there's a lot there that like a new generation will fall in love with, or like if you would really fall in love with, you know, without the nostalgia factor. I would just remember reading those books and being like, I remember as a kid being super pissed, being like 13 and being like, I can't believe they didn't include the whole Animagus story arc in the third movie. Like this is devalues everything.
Yeah.
I didn't say it in those words, but you know what I mean? Like, anyway, that's just a weird rant about adaptations and how, like, I never really thought about that manga to anime.
Yeah.
They're super different. Or not, like, it's super different when you compare to books to film.
Yeah. Well, it's two different mediums, right? Like,
Yeah, completely.
you know, it's there's a lot of things you can do in Hollywood, and there's a lot of things you can do in the anime sphere, but vice versa they can't, you know. It's what a strange. I love it. I don't know, I love it.
Even, you know, like you mentioned, like Game of Thrones, like it's funny, like some of the, not best, but some fan favorite moments and some fan favorite characters even are so incredibly one-dimensional and just there to just like vomit plot and get in the Game of Thrones books.
Yeah.
Like Bronn and like Shay are just like exposition pieces, and they turn in like to full characters in that show. But you know they drop a lot elsewhere, right? It's just funny how like from the medium, right? Like when you change things, it just sort of depends on what you're going for. Anyway, what do you watch? What are you watching this week?
Well, fucking buckle up, Dave. So I genuinely forgot to bring this up last week. I don't know I don't know what the deal was, but Leanne and I started watching To Your Eternity.
Fuck, really?
Yeah.
Oh man.
And wow. I have a lot. We have a lot of thoughts.
What episode do you think you're at?
The last episode we watched, again, major spoilers to a currently running show for everyone listening.
Yeah.
We'll give you a 1, 2, 3. There you go. All right, we're talking about it now. I saw probably one of the most beautiful and emotionally powerful episodes of a show I have ever seen, and it was The Death of March.
Yeah. Is that
Dave.
where you're at right now?
We finished the episode. He says goodbye. I'm forgetting I call her Sissy, I call her Sissy. I forget her actual name.
Yeah.
But like he gets her back
So you're
to the
probably
village.
somewhere around episode 5 or something.
I think it's 6. I think we
Yeah.
finished 6.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
so anyway, so I want to talk about stuff leading up to that point, or you know, let's talk. We'll get to this episode later, but I'll just start with it quickly before we put it aside.
Yeah.
Powerful, Dave. Like
I told you, man.
No, and I knew this too. And that's the thing. Like I had watched the first 2 episodes. I had gotten a taste of what this show could be, and I had this feeling. I think if you go back a couple post shows when we were talking about it, I had said I think I get the feeling by the end of each episode I'm gonna have a new question. There's gonna be more questions, and like in a healthy, like a genuinely like figuring thing out, or like the curiosity of what's to come. And the show has done that. Every episode has slowly introduced more and more stuff. This is just another show where it just consistently looks good, and then it has those moments where it just flares up into something more.
Yep.
Like we're both really enjoying it. It's definitely a slow burn.
Yep.
Which I think is the answer to what I've needed lately when it comes to anime, because I've been watching, very breakneck speed shows. It's Jujutsu Kaisen, it's Vinland Saga, My Hero, and Neon Genesis is a little like. It's a little bipolar where it's ultra slow burn, like the slowest burn you've ever seen, and then it's like fucking like off the walls, but this show, it's just like it's consistent, and then it has like those shonen or seinen moments of like action and all that, but the characters are super well written. The voice acting is probably the thing that sticks out to me in this show.
Yeah. Really good voices, yeah.
Leanne and I've been like walking around the house saying like
can't even get it out.
No, like as the dog. No, like he like was like arigato. So we've been going around the house doing that. But no, it's like there's just it's beautiful. It's such a good story about the world, and I like I'm going to give you a chance to talk and get in there.
No,
you haven't had the chance to talk about it either, but or at least in depth. But I really, really, really like how they open each episode of. It's just like it's just a neat way to recap what has happened.
Yeah.
And they bring in the narrator, who's Nanami in The House Husband, which that is probably my favorite voice actor.
Beautiful voice. I can't believe how much I like this guy's voice. Isn't it?
It's incredible. It's incredible. I saw a photo of him the other day on Twitter.
Does he look so cool?
It was his birthday, and I was like, "Fuck, that dude would rock a voice like that." Like it fits.
Does he look cool?
He looks cool. Yeah, I think he does. But I like how he does. Like he's as the narrator, as the sentient celestial being or whatever he may be, and is going over the lessons of I'm forgetting what they named him. What did March call him? The orb character, Fushi. So they talk about like what lessons and like what stimulus he needed, and like, I
think Fushi in that language it represents something to do with immortality.
Oh, okay.
So, and like she says that in the moment, it's like a throwaway line.
Yeah, you're immortal or something.
Something like that. Yeah, I think Fushi means something like that.
But yeah, like I said, by all means, like jump in. Like I'm just gonna keep going.
No, man, yeah, like so I think you're around episode 6. So I don't want to spoil anything. But yeah, I think you see what I've been talking about, and it's not like a huge "I told you so," right? Because like we both watched the pilot. We both liked it. You just were watching other stuff. I've been watching it week to week. It's hard. It is a slow burn, but I think I also told you, and I've noticed this lately, like just about translations when you're watching dubs, like or subs. I'm sorry. Like it just it takes a lot of care, I think, to make sure that the lines really hit when it's not in your native language. And there were some amazing zingers in season 4 of Attack on Titan, and there's some amazing zingers in Jujutsu Kaisen, just lines that hold meaning, and that get a little deep. And this show might have like 1 or 2 of those like every episode, probably without exception. I've been saving a few of them. I told you that are like some of my favorites, and I don't know if you're at or if you've heard them said yet, so I won't spoil any of those. But like just really, 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 really cool shit. there's this movie Arrival that I bet
Yeah, oh.
we both love.
That's a great fucking movie.
And yeah, hear me out here. Watch how deep I get with this.
Let's do it.
I'm really artsy. No, but the guy that wrote Arrival, that wrote the short story that it's based on, Ted Chiang, he has this famous quote about sci-fi. And he basically says, and I'm going to butcher it here, but his whole quote is, I think that sci-fi, when done properly, isn't about alien invasions and space battles. It's a study about the human condition and how to examine it like under extraordinary circumstances.
Word.
And that is this show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's to a T. That's very, very, it's spot on.
That is exactly what they're going for. It's just about what is consciousness, what does it mean to be human, and yeah, you know, you've seen a couple huge, heartbreaking moments already.
I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, the March death, I didn't think either, because you know, truth be told, I was kind of okay with a show where Fushi just sort of travels the world with March. You know, like
I was down for that.
Yeah.
They lured us in, Dave. They lured us in because they knew we would love it, and then they sprung the trap on us. You know, like very well, like very. Yeah. I was ready for that. I was ready for their journey as a crew.
Yeah.
You know.
And then that moment, you know, when he like becomes like the embodiment of like rage when she dies.
I didn't see that coming at all. That completely caught me off guard. Like that whole episode, that's what I'm saying. What an emotional masterpiece that was. It was just fucking, I was feeling everything as I was watching it. You know? Yeah.
That was tough, man. But it was fucking killer. Like, you know, like, I don't know. I love that shit.
That whole like I said, I'm not even like, we're also too, I had to look up how long this season is supposed to be. And it's supposed to be like 24 episodes.
Yeah.
So like we got a road ahead of us. And, Jeff from Mother's Basement, before this was coming out, he was talking about like this show is coming out, like you people need to watch this. This was on like his like, I think it was like his it was the spring or the summer ones to watch episode, and the line that stuck out for me was, or it was prepare to be sad or prepare to be crushed. It was like along those lines, and I was like, okay. And I was waiting for this show, and I thought that moment was when the kid dies in the first episode.
Yeah, one of the best pilots of all time.
One of the best, absolutely, like 100%. And I was like, okay, that's sad. I get it, because I really felt for that character. Like, you know, that was like very, and that's the show. Shows like this are so good because it's
amazing voice actor on the kid too.
All of them, and that's the thing across this show. Like everyone the voice acting is superb. And not saying that a lot of animes aren't, but it's just everything just feels so natural. But, and you know, this whole like it is kind of a sci-fi world, and that's the thing, you start to realize it's actually more grounded than you think. Like the misdirect of the bear not being a god, and I was like, oh, it's just a bear, and they set it up, and I was like, well, that's very interesting. And then you know, like. As I'm watching the show, we haven't had a chance to watch anymore, but like this is another one where I'm like, I'm so happy I'm in on the ground floor on this one.
Yeah, dude.
Genuinely, like I'll remember this show for eternity. You know?
No, man, I'm really excited to see where it goes, where this season ends, and I'm really excited to see if there's more. You know, I think it's been pretty successful so far.
Yeah.
Like I see it on the front page of Crunchy when it comes out. And they seem to be promoting it relatively well. So they just had a really big cliffhanger on the episode that I watched. I think I'm up. It's on episode 11 now.
Just came out, yeah, around Saturdays.
I think it's Sunday, Monday.
Okay.
Somewhere in there, but I watch it usually Sunday or Monday nights. So I'm caught up, and yeah, it you know, more of what you're loving is coming.
Yeah.
You know, just more stimulation, more experiences, you know, action picks up and stuff. It's cool.
And that's the thing, and as I was watching it, like at no point did I feel like I need to see more action. Like I'm just good to watch like these characters be and do their thing, you know. It's
very different, I think, maybe from what I would watch. I don't know if this is like can you think of a lot of animes that you've watched that are kind of like this?
Well, Actually, I got one to talk about later, and we'll get to that. But it's in the vein of not. I wouldn't compare it to Your Eternity in style and aesthetic, but it's just like, you know when people say like they watch a slice of life anime.
Yeah.
I don't think this is that, but this is kind of like, it's kind of like a window into like the human experience, because that's what this is, right? Like, I think that's obvious. That's not. I'm not being deep with that.
No.
But that's just what I'm just trying to double down on. Like, it's like, if there wasn't the action, I feel like this would still be a thing to watch, and this would be a thing to recommend to people. I'm actually chapped that like we can't, like, there's so many things that happen in each episode that I want to talk about, like just like, like the prison escape in the one episode. And I really like how in the beginning of the second episode they show him dying over and over on his journey.
Yeah,
that's really well done. And then just the whole like the ritual, like
experiences death a bunch.
Oh right, and then March, and then like him learning like the basic skills, and like having his little increments of him gaining stimulus. I really like how they use that word, because that is the human experience. It's stimulus and learning new things, and
and he has to be stimulated to learn, right?
Yeah.
Because if he's not, he'll literally just like walk in circles because he doesn't, you know what I mean? He hasn't like developed enough. I forgot. Yeah, Marge finds him decomposing as he comes back to life, right?
Yeah.
And that's why she names him Fushi. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. That's a different. This has been a very different anime. It's heating up, like I said, right now. But it reminds me of the other thing that I'm watching right now, which is Tokyo Revengers.
Okay.
And I won't spend a ton of time on this. I think, unless I'm wrong, like, because headlines are, weird. But, like, I think I just watched the finale, which seems weird.
Oh, really?
Well, because I watched a good episode, and it's episode 11, I believe, and it has a pretty solid ending to a big arc in the show. And then I see in the news, like, they're coming back for season 2 in July. I was like, isn't that just a hiatus? Like, isn't that just like breaking up part 1 and part 2 of a regular season? So I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what that's about. But I will say, as they wrapped up this arc, that I was pretty satisfied with it. It reminds me of To Your Eternity, only in that it's similar in, like, it doesn't share a lot of the qualities of what I would watch normally.
Yeah.
It's more drama. Well, it's definitely mostly drama. And it's just kind of weird, but there's just something about it that's just kind of got me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what. Sometimes there's just like that quality a show has. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're not sure what it is, but it's kind of gotcha. And especially when you're just in the mood for some anime. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And especially when you watch shows week to week too. I feel like that helps, right? Like, if you just like dumped like 25 episodes of Tokyo Revengers on my desk, like it was like on Netflix,
you'd be like, I'm good.
It's like that's just a lot,
Yeah.
with like a lot of the shit that's out there. But like when it's like week to week, and I generally speaking pretty much enjoy it, it's been a really fun one to watch. And it's like one day before To Your Eternity, so it's like I get one, it's Sunday, Monday. So anyway, yeah, I all in all, if that is the end of season 1 and they take a few weeks off, then yeah, dope. I would say, it's, if you're listening to this podcast, it's probably worth checking out, just because it's another step in the direction of just like how broad anime can get, like how many different directions shit can go. Not everything is like the hype shit that we've been talking about a lot of the time. A lot of it is just kind of interesting takes on drama.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was me. What's up?
So I guess I'll do another quick little wrap up. So I finished the TV anime of Neon Genesis.
Okay. So Neon Genesis Evangelion, the 1990s, 80s?
So 90, yeah, so 95, 96.
How do you feel?
Fuck, man.
Hey, by the way, dubs or subs? I can't remember what's on Netflix. Did it only?
No, I think it's all on there, but it's always subs.
Yeah.
For myself. What? Yeah, wow. I had to do some research because I knew, like infamously, the last two episodes of the show is kind of it's just a bit of a mind fuck, and it's very out there, like really out there, man. Like, I watched it, I finished the two. It was it was one of those things. I got up early with the dog in the morning, and like it's like 5:30 in the morning. It's dark out, just me. Turn on some anime, and I sat there and I was like, this was not the right time and setting to watch this. Like, I was just like not out of sorts, but I was kind of like, and then I thought, because I knew the movie, the end of Evangelion, is like technically the wrap up. That's like
I
the
fucking
true.
hate that.
Well, it's not that it's the true ending. It's not like it retconned anything. It just, they chose. I from what I've read, that was the plan from the get go. It was to watch the series, and then like a year later, I think was supposed to be the movie. But I watched this episode and I was like, well, fucking good. There's a movie to explain some things, because I don't fucking know. Like, can you imagine if you didn't know? Well, I guess you wouldn't know, but like, I can only imagine people back in the 90s, they finished watching the show and they hadn't read the manga. But I think there's a lot of differences between the manga and the anime, so I think that's also kind of a thing where people were kind of like left waiting. But you just watch it and you're like, what the fuck does that even, like, what is this? Like, this is not an ending.
It's that bad?
It's not that it's bad, Dave.
But it's like that.
It's in the story, and you're kind of you're just sitting there with empty hands. Like you've been when you finish something, at least you're expecting something to be given to you, like kind of and I'm not saying like that's how every show has to deliver the message to you. It's sometimes the show it's specifically designed for you to think and keep going on, which the show does, but it actually just leaves you at a point of, you're like, okay, but what happened?
Yeah, where did we end up?
And you're kind of like, you don't know. And then so I had to look, and so I watched the first 30 minutes of the movie. That I haven't been able to finish it yet, which I plan to do that this week. But the movie is taking place simultaneously to the last two episodes of the show.
Huh.
And then when I read that and I started watching it, it just goes, oh, that makes so much the context becomes so clear. And then you're like, oh, this guy was like millenniums ahead of us. Like it's just one of the, I really like it. It's very, very heavy. Just
interesting.
Dave, I'm
how long did the movie come out after the original series wrapped?
I looked it up before we started recording because I knew you were going to ask. And a year and a half.
Okay, well,
but
I mean, anime takes time.
Anime takes time, and the movie looks tremendous. It looks tremendous to the rest. Like, and the show looked good. Even like the 90s anime had such a fucking sick aesthetic.
So,
yeah, but the movie looks top tier.
It sounds like, hold on. Sorry, can you vamp for a moment? My cat is being ridiculous.
Oh, okay.
Just talk about it.
Yeah, I'll talk about the show. So, like, by the time I was done with the show, I genuinely, it is something special. There's a reason this is on the upper echelon of anime ever made. Like, it's very evident. I also see how it rubs people the wrong way, but I think for the most part, people see it and they're like, this is the goods. I'm definitely due. I'm gonna set my clock for 5 years. I need to do a rewatch, which is like another set of eyes years later. Just being able to, having watched it once, there's some things I'll be able to gloss over and just kind of like keep my eyes on some other stuff that's going on, because it's so loaded, it's so heavy. There's so much going on in this show, and but anyway. So like once I realized like the movie itself is taken simultaneously, like just when it kind of came to the realization of how everything kind of clicks together, it was kind of like a genuine, like the aha moment felt really, really good. But
so it sounds like you're saying that your recommendation would be to watch the original series, then watch the movie, knowing the context that matters between those last few episodes.
If I could, if when I was I would say the caveat is, if you can put the time away to watch the last two episodes and then just treat the movie as like a binge, like you go right into that. You watch the three pieces all together. because this like I guess the third to last episode is kind of like it's not clumsy, but like it does a well enough job. It sets up like before the craziness begins in the last two, which is kind of just like it's a trip for sure, Dave. Like it's just one of those shows you're like, yeah. I said this before. I said this last time we talked about it too. Like I could only imagine being like a teenager, just like stoned out of your gills in your parents' basement, watching this for the first time and just being scared because like between like just like the flashiness like the on the screen and just the
aesthetic and all that,
the aesthetic and the messaging and like the audio cues they use, like the tricks, like it's my next, and that's the thing too, like my next time I watch this will be headphones on, like just like keyed in for sure. It was something special. I'm glad I watched it, and I think it's one of those shows that I feel like every anime fan should at least give it a swing. If you just genuinely believe it's not for you, then by all means. But it's something. It's rewarding by the end of it, like and like it's smart and it's out there. Like I didn't feel dumb watching it. There's definitely some concepts that are like very out there, and like this thing has been studied over and over and over. It's like I said, there's a reason the show is talked about so much, and it's in these these lists, and like there's essays done about it, and it's crazy, man. Like, and the fights too, like it's a good package, man. Like the kaiju elements to it, and just I still think probably one of my favorite episodes of an anime ever is that one I was talking about where there's an angel that kind of comes as like an AI attack, like a virus, like a computer virus, and it just felt like I was watching like it honestly felt like it was inspired by Jurassic Park in a weird way. It's just like, so I don't know why it reminded me of Jurassic Park for whatever reason, and I'll probably go back and watch that sooner than later. Just that one episode, it's really, really good.
In terms of its pacing, when do you feel like you got that sort of, I don't know if you would call it like an aha moment or kind of like you understood what all the heavy stuff was about? Because you see a lot of that when people talk about this show.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's pretty heavy. It explores all these intense themes. It's, it was a really big deal at the time. Because we talked about how you couldn't get past like episode 9 a couple times, and I think that's also where I kind of called it quits on my first attempt.
Yeah.
When do you think the show really hit stride?
Well, I think so. I think I had talked about, or I had mentioned something earlier. The first like 9 or 10 episodes is kind of like, it's not a by the numbers kaiju experience. It's kind of like like the robots are fighting the monsters, but that's when they start to like they trickle in the themes of depression, and Shinji, the main character. They kind of get into his elements and his dynamics with his father and all that, and just like the deep rooted depression he's had over the years, and because they play into like the Evas, like the actual like the Evangelions themselves, like they are, there's like a human link between them and like the person that's like manning them, kind of thing. So that's like consistent for like 10 episodes, and I think like around the 11th episode arc they start getting into like the inner workings of the company and kind of like the shady shit that goes on there, and that's what they're like, some of the like obviously like there's a lot of like scientific based stuff in the first episode, so they're showing like the usage of the Evas and all this stuff, but like in the next 10 episodes, that's where they really get into like the biochemistry and like kind of the tomfuckery they've been doing, and like the religious elements start creeping in there. And then right at the end, like the last like 6 episodes is where it just gets like very mindful, and it's talking about like just like heavy, again, the themes of depression and losslessness, and it's all I can say, it's a fucking trip. Like I see this and it just makes you think, because it's a piece of art. Like it's so beautiful, the music, and like there's just this recurring theme of cicadas in the background. Like it's because everything's engineered, right? Like they're kind of like in an underground city, and it's like for like they don't have weather. Like they even mentioned that at one point. The character goes, yes, I remember like it's like kind of like a throwaway line of like the cherry blossoms are coming in and there'd be like a nice breeze and all that, and you're like, oh yeah, like it's just perpetual like depressing hot summer, and like you can hear there like just the usage of the cicadas in the background, like the bug, like the bug calls, and it's just like everything just feels like everything's trapped, like just
vibey.
this. Yeah. Oh, it's yeah. Neon
Interesting.
Genesis, man. You gotta check. Everyone's gotta check it out at
All
least
right.
once in your life.
I think I'll probably do it this year.
I think you should. Like I said, the first 10 episodes is very like almost a by the numbers. Like they had to get people in for the trip. They had to lure you into the ride.
It's very easy to forget that at the time that wasn't by the numbers, right?
Sure.
And like you and I have talked about this a lot, even on this podcast, about like how it's really hard to put yourself in the frame of mind of like, oh well, at the time,
yeah,
this wasn't like a tired trope, or this wasn't, like at the time. The one I always think about was like how Blade Runner wasn't like your run of the mill like sci-fi. It was like this huge technical achievement that explored like new sexy ideas, and like now so much has been made of that if you showed that to somebody who's watches like regular sci-fi stuff, they'd be like, yeah, that's what sci-fi movies are. So yeah, it feels like Neon Genesis like kind of became the victim of that. So yeah, I'll give it a shot. I'm glad to hear you enjoyed it though.
Yeah, I really look forward to eventually down the road having watched it, just being able to talk about that one, because there's just so many little things, and I just feel like it's one of those shows, not to stay on it too long, but like it's just one of those shows that I feel like every person that watches it, they're gonna find that one thing that they pick out, and it's not gonna be what someone else picks out. And it's funny. It's a good, at least talking point compared to Your Eternity, because it's about the human experience, and it's a think piece of how our minds work, and how like these things can like overwhelm us, and trying to making your choices. Fuck, man, I could go on for hours about it. It's deep, but it's accessible at the same time.
Well, that sounds like a recommendation.
Yeah,
check it out, everybody, and so will I. Did you watch Loki episode 2?
Yeah, boy, I feel much better now.
You feel it's funny. I
feel
worse. No, I mean, what happened? Spoilers ahead. Loki episode 2. So, what happened? I mean, I think I like Owen Wilson.
Yeah.
And I like their dynamic. I just felt kind of like I felt at times in the Falcon show, where it was like, I don't understand some of the struggle here. You have superhuman strength. Like, I didn't understand the ending. The ending was kind of weird. The ending is really the only thing, actually. Like, most of it I was like kind of pretty on board with.
Yeah.
Until the ending. So how did you feel about the ending?
Well, I feel better about the villain reveal. I'm glad it's just not him with like
literally him. Yeah.
I'm glad it's just not him with like they threw on a little extra coloring into his eyebrows or something. You know what I mean? Like like trying to make him look more evil. Like I'm glad it's not that. I'm glad it's because they did a good. I had guessed that was going to be the case. I had guessed it was going to be a woman, because earlier in the episode they kind of show all the different variants. There's like a Hulk variant, and you can see him get like nervous, which I thought was funny.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I bet you it's not going to be him. And
so
Jason point it wasn't. But
is this supposed to just be female Loki, or is this like an MCU character like they're yanking out of the comics that I'm not aware of?
I have no. I couldn't touch that.
But it wasn't like it just like the quote reveal just was like so odd, like not a reveal. It was like, okay, wait, it's not Loki, it's a stranger.
No, I think he's just never met a variant of himself. Is kind of what it is, right? I think she is him. She's not
Loki
like,
from another.
Yeah, just a different timeline.
What we thought, but
or
just
multiverse or whatever the fuck you want to call it. The timey-wimey shit. I'm like as they say it, like they present it to you like it makes sense, and it's like, all right, I buy it, I guess. It's one of those things. The thing I loved about this episode is like Leanne and I, we haven't watched it in a few years, mind you, just because the show took a bit of a dip in our opinion, but we're huge Doctor Who fans, And they pulled off. I laughed so fucking hard at the beginning of the episode where they set up. They're at like the Renaissance fair, or you think it's like in that time in the Renaissance era. Sorry, and then you find out it's like a fair in the 80s.
Yeah,
I laughed so fucking.
You liked that bit?
I love that because that was like a good Doctor Who bit because like they're always going to like Renaissance era stuff or like Italy in the 1700s or this and that, like, you know, Paris, or like always go back to World War II settings in Doctor Who. Like we like that time travel shit, you know, in that because it's you know when it's good, it's good. But the problem with this show is they kind of just present to you saying like, oh yeah, like that this is timeline stuff and this is why it's this, and you're like, all right, okay, if you say so. I just take it at word because it's MCU stuff. I'm not trying to like overthink any of it. But I do like Time Cop Loki. I like the concept, and this episode was good proof of that. I didn't buy him trying to be all smarmy at the end of that when they're trying to figure out who killed the crew or whatever. I was like, okay, well, this is just. I keep forgetting this isn't the Loki we've been seeing over the past few years.
Yeah,
it's a total digression of what he's become,
which I don't like.
It's not even a digression. It's just that he's just never become that person. He hasn't become that person.
Yeah,
it's a different timeline.
Yeah.
So it's wrapping my head around that. But the ending, I found the set piece looked cheap as shit. I did not like the Walmart. I thought that was pretty. That was like, oh, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. This is exactly what I was talking about. It was rooms. It was a season of rooms and stuff that were like just presented to you. All last episode and the beginning of this episode, they set up worlds that looked breathable and believable, and this was just like,
You're in a supermarket.
Yeah, and it like they had product placement galore. Like
they had that neat little shot of like zooming out and like it's all red.
Yeah,
that was a cool shot.
Yeah.
What did you think about the time? What would you call it? Bombing the sacred timeline, more or less. She seems to have, the end, that ending shot. She sets off all of those. She sets off all of those resetters, and you see the sacred timeline diverging in that little animatrix thing, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Do you think that leads? Do you think this has permanent consequences and it leads to the multiverse of madness?
I think this is what Kevin Feige was talking about.
What was he
like
saying?
a week? Well, like a week before Loki premiered, he says, "Just so y'all know, like stuff happens in Loki that's going to affect all of the MCU. Like it's going to have like critical impact." And I saw that and I was like, "Okay, well that's that." Like like I feel like this moment would have felt more juice to it if he had not like made that public, and you couldn't avoid it. Everywhere you went, it was on fucking Reddit, it was on Twitter. Like people, it's just one of those things. You're like,
I gotta tune in now.
It's like as if millions of people are gonna watch this. Like fucking come on. Like God.
Interesting.
I get it. It's his job.
Yeah.
I don't know. I did like it, and I liked the jumping of the bodies in the fight scene. I thought that was cool. Nothing to like cry home about, but it was light. It was funny, but
it's funny that gag. The jumping bodies like acting exercise is like so fucking corny, and but it's like it's used so much, and like when it's used like it's kind of neat to see, right? It's neat to see an actor like embody a character, and it's like, how would this actor play this character?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was, I was like okay, fine, like this is indulgent, and it like, it like builds, right? Because you want to see the real person, you want to see the real other embodiment of Loki. I just with the MCU's history being so big and their castings being so ridiculously out of control, I was almost anticipating like a really big actor to have this role. I don't know. Have you ever seen this person before?
No, I don't. Just at first look, you don't really get a super good. Well, I guess you get a good look at her, but she's not on screen for very long.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, I don't think there's.
I do with you saying that and thinking about it now. I do. That would have been a good, but that's the problem. That's just creating more to juggle later. Like her being, no offense, like I'm not trying to sound rude, but like, sorry, no, I was gonna say a nobody, but when I said a new face, just makes me think that she's like gonna be gone by the end of this, like for sure. She's gonna be taken care of.
Well,
and
that's
then, but her what she has caused is gonna be everlasting. Like her legacy is gonna be there, but not her.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like the villains from Falcon and the Winter Soldier. You know,
Same
they were
thing.
in, like, yeah. Okay, well, Loki episode 2. It feels like there's not a ton left to say there. I did hear that, like, I think the midpoint or like the second half of the season's crazy, and like, you know, in a fucking promo video. So like their job is to promote you to watch the whole thing. So you know, you never know. But I think the Tom Hiddleston was saying like, oh, I can't wait for people to see, you know, how this ends up, yada yada yada. So I don't know.
He's good, and like the jokes were great this episode. Owen Wilson talking about like jet skis, like that seemed like ad-libbed. That seemed ad-libbed.
Yeah,
like, I'm sure it wasn't, but I was like, I believe him.
I was forgetting something. Their whole conversation about, like, you know, in that lunch cafeteria, about just like existence and free will. I was like, well, you know, you kind of signed yourselves up to have this conversation when you like talk about the sacred timeline. So I'm glad they did that, and I'm glad that like you got to get, like, you know, it's easy to forget sometimes how much talent there is in the MCU. We've definitely talked about that. Yeah. But it was good to get to see these characters have this moment that isn't about like time travel and leaping through time doors, and just like talk about like what is existence. Yeah. And like, but he's like, but jet skis are so fucking cool. You know what I mean? Like, that was the most Owen Wilson thing ever.
There was a time in the 90s where, what does he say? Or performance and form come together in one perfect. Oh my god, it was good. Like,
I feel that like might be like a him bit.
That's what I'm saying. I almost felt like that was ad-lib. Like, he just did that on the spot, and they were like, "Okay, we'll film a scene with him in a mag." He does this thing too. He's playing with the magazine. Yeah. And he's like, "Are you looking at my jet ski magazine? Put it down."
Have you seen Hiddleston's impressions of Owen Wilson?
I've seen. He's been on Graham. We love Graham. We love watching Graham Norton clips. Dude, he's done some good ones on there.
Oh no, I'm from here. He does one at like a fan thing where he does Owen Wilson doing Loki lines.
Oh my god!
Like, humanity, you crave subjugation. It's like, I can't even do it. But Hiddleston has crazy impressions. Yeah, that guy is fucking crazy.
You would think, like, you know, he's a big star, obviously. He's just one of those ones that it's like, did the MCU hold him back?
Well, it's funny you say that. I don't watch a ton of late night these days. It's just, I think like COVID has hurt the platform so much. Sure. But I saw a late night clip of him on Kimmel, I think, Hiddleston on Kimmel. And you know, Thor 1 was a long time ago, but they had some they brought up, as, you know, part of the bit, but it was real. They brought up some headlines of before Thor 1 came out. And it was, Marvel Studio takes risk on casting nobodies to lead the film. Oh. Like, Hiddleston was just not...
Meaning him and
Hemsworth. Like, Hemsworth was not big. And, and neither was he. Like, they did, like, a lot of shit, but, like, they really kicked into big after Thor 1. Yeah. Like, they took the fucking world by storm with that movie. Even though, like, you look at the box office and it's not great, but it was really great for then.
Yeah, and I actually liked the first Thor movie.
And then, you know, he got to be the villain in the first Avengers movie, which was huge.
Did you ever watch, I think it's called The Night Manager?
No, man, but I've actually got it saved, and I remember, so I didn't see it, but I'll just say that I remember people loved it so much, they petitioned for him to be the next Bond.
I could totally see him as Bond.
Because is he really good in that?
I only watched the first episode. It was just, wasn't the right time to watch it. We just never went back to it. But going back to, like, funny enough, comparing it, like, I think he'd be a dead ringer as the Doctor for Doctor Who. Really, eh? I think he would be tremendous. Like, you know, I think he's too big at this point, that mind you. But
God, I bet he would be killer, eh? Yeah, and he's
he just has such good cadence, and, you know, like, he has such good body. And you know what? He has such good physical presence in everything he does. Like, he moves, like, he's so smooth, you know, and, like, he just has that.
You look at his impressions and all that shit. He's like a perfect actor. You just give the Oscar straight to if you could get him like a good biopic.
Yeah, but I think it's no, I won't get into that. The freebie Oscars there, but I don't know. I see this and I hope he has the opportunity to do stuff. Oh, you know what he was in? Also funny enough with Owen Wilson. He was in what is it? Is it Midnight in Paris? What's it called?
Yeah.
With it's a Woody Allen movie.
It was Midnight in Paris, and
he plays who does he play? He plays
I didn't even see that movie, but
he plays Fitzgerald, the author.
Yes.
Is it he's very that tremendous movie. Very good.
So
movie. Woody Allen's fucking creepy and all that, but like that's a good movie.
So I didn't see that movie, but that Graham Norton impression, he's doing the impression of him talking to Owen Wilson on the set of that movie. Because he says like he got the movie last minute.
Okay.
And he didn't know it was a time travel movie apparently. Or something like that.
Sure.
And he was asking Owen Wilson questions like, I don't understand, like I meet you and then what? And then Owen Wilson goes, oh, no, I'm from here. Yeah, I'm from back then. My character actually, like, he has this whole bit of Owen Wilson explaining the plot to him. Anyway, all right, that's enough Tom Hiddleston and Loki. TBD. We'll see how that goes. I've got a slew of small, bite-sized pieces of anime news.
Yeah, let's
do you want some? Do you want some heat?
I got a couple more things to talk about, but let's break it up with some anime news for sure.
Okay, two really quick. Actually, this first one isn't even anime news, but it's news for us. Westworld is apparently doing a season 4.
Oh, I dipped out after the first season.
Yeah, so I don't know if anybody listening likes Westworld. If you've seen more than the first season, I don't know why you would. But it's very weird that they're doing a season 4. Man, it got fucking weird. And then they took like 2 straight years off, and like just to film and like put money into it. And they got like Aaron Paul.
Yeah.
And like it had like.
Oh yeah, they did take that extended break. I did.
Yeah, and then like it like finished, but but you just think it's over. Like I don't know what the fuck they're doing over there. If there are any diehard Westworld fans out there, hit me up because I don't get it. I don't get why they need a season 4.
So you watched season 3?
Yeah,
like you're caught up.
Yeah, but like even in season 2, man, like they were just sort of getting away from it, and it was like, what are we doing? Like, god damn, season 1 was promising.
Season 1 was great, and then the first couple episodes of season 2 I liked, but then the show is just so fucking like it thinks it, it's I've never gotten mad at a show before like I had with Westworld. I was like, I remember watching it and like I physically like threw the remote. I'm like, fuck you, like you're not smarter than me. Like, it was just so jerk offy and like, and you're not gonna figure this out, like, you know what I mean? Like it was so up its own ass, and it's like, I get it, like you're a show about cutting like it's playing around with timelines, and it's like fucking spare me, man. Like I got other shit to watch. Like
I have a vision in my head of it's just Christopher Nolan just beating off watching Westworld, and he's just like, we really get each other.
Is that his brother?
Nah, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's
his brother, is it not?
Wait, is it?
The director, yeah, Jonathan Nolan. I'm pretty sure they're brothers.
Oh my god, really?
Yeah,
I didn't even know that.
I'm almost certain here.
Jonathan Nolan does. I didn't even know he had a brother. I thought it was J.J. Abrams had a piece of Westworld. Yo, that's gonna be so funny.
Because it's his brother. Jonathan Nolan is his brother.
Wow, that's ridiculous. Okay, so they both have a time kink. Congratulations. Get the fuck out of here.
I did it better.
Whatever. Season 1 has some cool time stuff, and it's great, and like the ending is great. They almost shoulda, coulda, woulda made that a limited series, and just fucked off after season 1.
That first season was tremendous. Like there's no doubt about it.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone out there is like a big defender to seasons 2 and 3. Like they're fine, man, but like, but they're one of those things that it's like you may have bastardized what made season 1 so good. You know what I mean? Like they're good, and they might even be above average television, especially if you're like a Walking Dead fan or something.
Sure.
But I don't know. I just don't know why season 4. I just don't know anyone who is clamoring. Oh, we need more of this. Anyway, now I just feel like I'm being mean. What you got?
Oh, you said you had more tidbits. You said you had 2 tidbits.
That's one, and then the other. I think you may have actually already broke last week, but I think it got a date. Vinland Saga will officially receive an announcement on July 26th. So we've had an announcement of an announcement
I love
over
that.
a month away.
I'm okay with that. When it comes to this, fucking do what you want.
Yeah. So, yeah, more to come there. But that's the other that's the second one.
So, we were talking earlier about kind of breaking out of our comfort zones with shows and something, like you had said, what were we talking about? About was it 2 Year Eternity?
Yeah, and Tokyo Revengers.
Tokyo Revengers. Sorry, that's what we were talking about. Again, this was another show that a few people on the internet that I follow have been talking about, saying the one that caught my ear. So I guess it's not that out of my comfort zone, but there's elements of it that are. And the recommendation, or saying the show, it's like a Coen Brothers movie. And the show is Odd Taxi.
Odd Taxi.
Have you seen stills of this on Crunchyroll?
Oh, it's an anime? No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it is an anime. So it's about it's a world of anthropomorphic animals.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the thing. And I'm like, not like, people have their stuff on the internet. But like I saw that Beastars show, and there's just a lot of like sexualized hype around it. It was so like intense on the internet about that Beastars show. I was like, I think I'm just good on this show about animals. Like I don't need to watch Kinky's Utopia.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was kind of where the show was kind of at. But Dave, I'm genuinely, I love this show. It is so funny and so good. Odd Taxi. It's so it's so the setup of the show is it's like kind of like a news radio broadcast, and there's like a high schooler has gone missing, and you hear it over the radio of this taxi driver, and it's the main character, Otakawa. He's a walrus, and he's just like this kind of like grumpy dude and like sarcastic and kind of like not a dick, but like he just like he grew up an orphan and he's had a rough life or whatever. He's kind of just like speaks from his heart, and this is the most grounded, like there's, other than the fact that they're all fucking animals, this is like I feel like I'm watching like a real life drama. It's so weird, and it took me a while to like kind of not click with it, but I was like, this is just like anything else. This is like watching something you would see like on HBO, like, and it's just one of those things. And where it gets compared to a Coen Brothers movie is like there's just all these quirky cast of characters that all somehow are intertwined. Like there's a subplot, again, spoilers for Odd Taxi. I do highly recommend this to anyone. This will be the show I recommend to people if they've never watched anime. Watch Odd Taxi, because it's such an easy, like, if you can get your head wrapped around the animal stuff, which I know some people like
may not be able to do.
Well, they just go to a place of like, oh, like you're a pervert. It's like, no, believe me, like it's not it's not that show at all.
I'm having a hard time picturing it. I'm at least gonna look up key art or something.
Yeah, you should. It's just like a nice soft visual look to it. It's not like it's very like appealing to the eyes. It's like it's very real world-esque, right? Like they do little details on like when they go into restaurants or like when they're driving around town and all that. Like, so this is another episode this week that I watched because I'm actually, I think the season finale is next week. It's gonna be 13 episodes, but I'm almost caught up now. Like, there's an episode of this guy, and the whole episode is dedicated just how lost a person can feel in life, and all they have is like gotcha games, like stuff like that, and they get caught up into like, oh, I'm a grown man, I can put $5 into this game and all that, and it kind of like it spirals like on and on and on, and like, and now this character is like literally has like had like a mental snap, and he's like following someone, and he's like trying to kill them, you know, like finds a buried gun in a park that another character had buried, kind of thing. And that's where everything's intertwined, kind of thing. And there's this whole stuff with like drugs are being stolen from a medical clinic that one of the main characters' buddy, the gorilla Goriki, is like he's a doctor running this clinic. It's so fun and so lighthearted and fun, like genuinely funny. Like and you know, it's such a nice, like a light little romp. It's the perfect, like at the end of the day, I watch an episode of this, or like at lunchtime at work.
Yeah, okay.
I just watch that, and it's like it's easy, but it's the, you know, it's not as like thought provoking as like To Your Eternity, because that's like going for it, you know, like it's really, really, really trying to give like a big message. But this is what I would consider a slice of life show. You know, like you're just like living in, watching like the stories of these people, seeing their lives, their day-to-days, and how they're all connected, and they're like, yeah. And like there's like a really good arc of like the trappings of social media fame, and just how like what the lengths people will go to like have likes online and all that. And it's just, yeah, I'm just surprised. Like
Odd Taxi.
Yeah, it was one of those ones. It was recommended, and again, Jeff from Mother's Basement, like, you know, obviously, like I feel like I should,
Our homie.
God, I would kill it. I would kill to have a conversation with that guy.
Yeah, we go back.
But you know,
I'll intro you.
but you know, he said that he's like, I think he had said he was like shocked that more people aren't watching this show because it's just fucking good. You know, it's not hype. It's not, and this is like a good, it's a good like thing to watch, because you're like, you're right. It is not all hype. You know, it's not all Attack on Titan. It's not all like dire stakes like Neon Genesis, and it's not tackling like, you know, it tackles stuff, like I said, like it's tackling like the social media stuff and like the, you know, like debatable online gambling and all that, but it's, you know, it's not like extremes. It's not like it's all within the world. Like I feel like I could walk into a human version of like one of these characters and like have a conversation with them. You know, it's a really good show. It would be interesting, like watch the first episode and then don't touch the rest, but just like kind of get like a feel for the world of what they set up. It's really, really good.
Okay, maybe I'll try and see if I can work that one in for, you know, before next week's post show to see if
I would just love to see what you thought.
Check that out. And
you know what I mean? Because like I said, it's
the
the animal thing for some people might be just like, oh, I'm not into that. But when you realize that they're animals, but they're not animals, like these are just people.
Yeah.
You know.
Interesting. We talked about this briefly off air, but Demon Slayer, the movie, is officially out and available for streaming. So we should probably just mention that. In case anybody listening hasn't seen it, which
there will be a
possible.
pod.
We will watch it, and we will podcast our review or discussion about it coming soon. That, you know, we think we've got a date, but we'll just say coming soon for now. We're both incredibly excited. As you guys know, we've been waiting to watch this one for a fucking while. So. I've had some very mild or major spoilers. We'll see.
Ah, Dave, don't tell me that. That sucks.
What are you gonna do? That's life. But you know, I think I'm just excited to have new Demon Slayer to watch. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? We've talked about this anime a lot in 2021, and we didn't even watch it in 2021. We had watched it in 2020, and it just stuck with us both so much, I think, that it'll be really fun to watch this. And then when we do that, I mean, they're still slating season 2 for this year, so
they announced again, mind you, it's a Japanese release date, but for the fighting game that's coming out, I think it's October 12th or 14th. Okay. So probably we'll get it next year, but I'll be checking that out for sure.
Yeah, I wonder if that'll be around the time or if it'll coincide with season 2. I guess
that'd be a good companion piece. That's definitely going to be a fall anime.
Yeah, considering that the film is canon, I'm sure it'll set up season 2, or maybe not. You know, maybe it just has like this arc, and then like we just get kind of a fresh slate for season 2. Have you seen any of the art or trailers for season 2?
None. Nice. Going in blind, baby.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's Demon Slayer. Stay tuned. We will talk about it. I don't have a ton more. I don't know if you do. I've got 2 tiny pieces of anime, and that is
I got two. I got two more tiny things. Yeah.
Chainsaw Man.
Yeah. Sunday.
Is it Sunday?
The first official look.
Yes. So if you're unfamiliar, don't blame yourself, because this isn't even an anime yet. It's just an incredibly popular manga that has really, really high reviews from its readers. Is like the next big thing as far as people are concerned in terms of like hype shonen stuff, I think. And we're getting a first trailer is going to come out in the next little bit. So that's coming. And then there's a Godzilla Netflix.
People are stoked for this, man.
Godzilla Netflix anime. Super interesting trailer.
Singular Point, I think it's called. Godzilla
Singular Point. Singular Point. I don't know what to expect. I mean, I saw the trailer. It's interesting. It looks good.
Yeah.
It looks like there's some interesting use of like 3D, but like kind of slightly different than I've seen it. It might just be like the color palette. Anyway, I will probably watch that
for sure.
I think it's cool that just to see Netflix going for it with these animes.
I agree. They got a lot coming down the pipe for sure.
Yeah, they've got a lot, and
good and bad.
Good and bad.
Have you seen the talk about this Wreck-It Ragnarok show?
No. But they definitely miss, man. Like they. But like, go back and look at like the Netflix originals filter on the app. Like, just even their live action stuff. Like, it's almost like they get like 2 to 3 big winners, and they have to like pay for the 7 losers. You know what I mean? Like, it feels like
that cost.
They are just spending money on content creation. I think they're doing fine.
Yeah.
That strategy has proved to be a winning one so far. But I think that it's cool to see them doing that with anime. I think they're financing a lot of anime, and there'll be the winners and there'll be losers. And I'm pretty much okay with that.
Yeah.
What you got?
So we had a movie night on I guess Sunday night. We watched Raya and the Last Dragon.
Who did that?
Disney. That was the one that came out earlier in the year. You had to pay like $35.
Oh yeah.
And I was like,
how was that?
Nah. Okay. Well, I'll tell you. There's visually one of the best Disney has done, in my opinion. Like, it looks tremendous. Well, there's some stuff that looks a little like there's areas like when they do like natural elements, like the photorealistic stuff, I find that's always like top tier. Funny characters, the story is pretty thin, and I think that's been a complaint. Like, that's not a hot take by any means. Anyway, it was a Disney movie. It was whatever. It was cool. We all enjoyed it. The action scenes, Dave, were fucking tremendous the entire time. All Leanne and I could talk about while we were watching the movie was, why has Disney not made a Star Wars movie like this? Like, with Disney style animation, like just do like a total side story. Disney, like, obviously you got to get lightsabers in there, but like watching the fight scenes, like,
that would be pretty cool.
There's a fight between, like, there's this main character Raya, and then I think her name is Namari, or I'm blanking on, essentially like her foil, the antagonist, to her throughout the movie. And it was like watching like Ahsoka Tano from Star Wars fighting Asajj Ventress, like, from Star Wars as well. Like, it was almost like they kind of studied those fights from the Clone Wars and they threw it into like, I didn't mind you, they have the Clone Wars, so they have kind of done this, but I'm talking about a fucking AAA big budget Hollywood Star Wars animated movie. Like, that's all we could, like, we were just like, fuck, man, like, how have they not done that? Like, this should have been proof right here of like why, make sure the script is good, like, like, don't cheap out. But like, I don't know, it's, my takeaway was, I need more Star Wars.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Is okay, so would you recommend it?
Yeah, I think there's some good action stuff, there's some good comedy. I think it's worth to watch the movie for what could have been. there's a lot of stuff that like they should have focused more on the story. Like, you know, this show, I think if Disney announced like a 10-part miniseries of this show, like with lesser animation, they send it to like a different studio, they outsource it or whatever, I think it would be way better, because they really set up a really interesting world. And
really, eh?
yeah, like there's some good exposition in the beginning, and like the comedy's good. Like so there's like the dragon itself in the movie, and it's voiced by Aquafina, who I've never like. I know what she looks like. I've never heard her speak, you know, but like this character like looked like her, and like it's clearly her, because I think she's a comedian. I don't know if she's a stand-up or what her deal is specifically, but like she was great in it. Like, and her animation was really, really good. Like they went over, like I said, the movie is beautiful. It's just the story is just paper thin, you know. Like I feel like if the movie was 3 hours, it would have made way more sense. It was just like cut. Like they were I feel like they traveled across the whole country in like what felt like 30 minutes, you know.
But worth watching because it's pretty.
It's beautiful, and like I said, the fight scenes are pretty good. Like there's not too many of them there, but it's I don't know, we enjoyed it. All three of us just like, it's just one of those movies, like, you know, it's not perfect by any means, but we all just enjoyed ourselves. Like we talked about it, we're like, oh, that was cool, and like it was just like a good family movie. And I don't think you can ask much more for that. Like compared to like we watched Mitchells versus the Machines early, like a few months ago, or a month or two ago.
Yeah, you love that one.
That was good. Like that was like the whole package. Like awesome concrete story, good message, top tier animation, funny, and Raya and the Last Dragon was not all that, but it was still just as enjoyable. You know, if I'd recommend the two, I would say Mitchells versus the Machines. But if you like some good Disney style heroine sword fighting, then give her.
All right.
Yeah.
What was the title?
Raya and the Last Dragon.
Raya and the Last Dragon. Interesting. Okay. I don't have anything other than that. We could probably end on that note, unless you got anything else.
No, I'm good.
Okay. Thank you guys for listening. As we mentioned, you know, more stuff is coming. My Hero Academia is really heating up now. We'll probably talk about Demon Slayer separately in a special episode, so keep an eye out for that. And thank you for listening. Please feel free to support the podcast however you want. Like, comment, follow, subscribe, tell your neighbor about it, knock on doors, just tell strangers. However you want. Thank you for listening. See you next week.
Bye, guys.